Hey there everybody, it's Mike DiLisio, and today I'm going to be reviewing Cinderella's Dance, a small box, two-player only card game that is a trick taker of sorts. What do I mean by that? Well, let's head over to the table, I'll show you how the game plays, and we'll come back here and I'll let you know what I think. Alright, here we see Cinderella's Dance. This is a two-player trick taker-ish game that is kind of a micro game. All you have is this magnetic closure box, some rules, and a deck of cards. These cards are made up of a couple of scoring cards and then simply a numbered deck from 1 to 21. So every number from 1 to 21 is represented here. There are no suits per se. The game is so simple that I'm going to essentially show you how it works right here rather than going into like a traditional rules explanation. You would just shuffle the deck. Pardon me. And then you're going to randomly remove 5 cards from this deck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then since it's a two-player game, you deal out 8 cards to each player. Once a first player is started, they're going to look at their hand of cards. You can lead with any card you want if you are the leading player. The only rule is that the other player, if they want to follow what you've led, they have to play a card within 3 numbers of the value that you played. So if I played this 5, the other player would have to play a 6, 7, or an 8. So looking at the cards I have right now, I've got a 5, I've got a 6, and I've got an 8. So if they have a 7, they could play it, but maybe the 7 is one of these 5 cards that were removed. So let's just say I take a risk and I played this 5. The other player would look at their hand of cards and then they're going to determine if they can or want to play the card to follow that. Well, in this case, they don't have 6, 7, or 8, so they would have to pass. They don't have to say, I can't follow. They would just say that they're going to pass. Okay, you don't necessarily want to give information to your opponent. And then this would be a 1 trick from this first player, and then they would continue. And you go until one player has run out of their cards. You count up the number of tricks won, and whoever has won the most will get a score, a point for that. If they win a second point, they would just flip the card over, and then the first player to get 3 points wins. So that is the game. Every time between rounds, you get up the cards, reshuffle them, remove 5 cards randomly, and you just play cards like that where one player will lead, the following player will either choose to play a card if they can within 3 or pass, and then the winner of the trick will take it and lead, and you continue until someone has won 3 points. That's it. That's Cinderella's Dance. Okay, so that was Cinderella's Dance. Very simple, as you can see, there's very little rules-wise going on. And this game had an interesting kind of birth, an etymology that is out of the ordinary. It's an older game that was originally called, I believe, Count Up 21, and it was part of a kind of an exhibition known as Is This a Trick Taker?, where a number of different game designers pitched game, or I don't know if you would say pitched, but they showed off games that were kind of riffs on trick-taking or toyed with the conventions of what trick-taking even is. And this game was at that point, again, known Count Up 21, I believe it was called, and was part of that kind of exhibition. And so to some extent, it's a bit of an experiment, all right? And so the way the game came about, I think, is important for the context of reviewing it in a critical way, okay? Because I'll just get right out, I'm going to put it right up there at the beginning. I believe this works best as an experiment. It's a better experiment than it is a game. I'll put it to you that way, okay? It's certainly intriguing. And this designer, Taiki Shinzawa, has really kind of played around a lot with the notion of what is trick-taking and kind of subverting some expectations that you might have around trick-taking games. So games like 9 Lives and Ghosts of Christmas and things along those lines, American Bookshop. Games that kind of take some of the things that you are maybe used to seeing in a trick-taking game and kind of changing them or adding a twist or things along those lines. And Cinderella's Dance is certainly doing that. It is kind of changing your notion or questioning what really is a trick-taking game. And so, do I think this is a trick-taking game? Sure, why not? It has enough of that feel to it that I would certainly be fine calling it a trick-taker, but it is not like any others that I've seen. No traditional suits. It's more of a micro game than anything else. As far as the actual production goes, it's a lovely little production. The magnetic closure box is great. The card quality is nice. The art on the cards is nice. I don't understand the theme, what this has to do with the story of Cinderella. I have no idea. Maybe there is a theme connection there. I certainly haven't found it, but it's nice looking art and the card quality is good. So that's really all I need to say about that. As a game, again, I feel like the actual mechanics of the game work better as an experiment. I think there's a huge luck factor to this game. If you happen to be dealt a hand that has the 19, 20, and the 21, that's 3 guaranteed tricks for you right there. And it's very hard to kind of mitigate that. The removing of the 5 cards, obviously adds enough of an element of limited, information that it helps with some of this, but you can usually get a pretty good idea of what your opponent is going to have, somewhat of an idea. And oftentimes your main decisions in the game are, okay, looking at the cards I have, what are the ones I can play that either guarantee me to win this trick or put me in a very good position that if the opponent follows, that I've got a card that can follow that. Because again, you can only play within 3 point values of the card that was played. You can only follow within 3 value. And so if you play a card knowing that it can be followed, you can follow that. Those are the kinds of decisions you make. And they're cool, it's novel, it's fun, but I don't know that the game has legs. This is not something that I think I'm going to be returning to over and over again. This is a game that I think works best as, hey, let me show you this weird little game. You show it to them, oh, that's interesting, and then that's it. You're not going to be, I don't feel like 2 players are not going to want to play this over and over and over and over again. And there certainly could be some nuances, some subtle strategies that develop over multiple plays between the same 2 players. But I don't know that that's really going to happen very often. I think most often what's going to happen is that it's an intriguing thing to show off to new players. You'll play it once or twice because it's so short. But yeah, that's cool. I played it. It was neat. And then move on. Okay? So I'm giving this a 6 out of 10. It's one that, again, I think works better as an experiment. It's an intriguing kind of a thing to make you think about what really is or isn't trick-taking. And I love that whole notion of, playing around with the expectations that gamers have, whether it's trick-taking or worker placement or set collection or whatever, and kind of making people reevaluate what these things mean. I think that's neat. But as a game, I can't recommend it on just the merits of the mechanics within because I think it's far too luck dependent. And it's, honestly a bit too slight. It's not going to be something that you would come back to over and over again. But it is interesting. And if you get a chance to play it, sure. I just don't know that I would recommend it on its own as a purchase unless you just wanted to show it off to a bunch of people. All right, well, that is Cinderella's Dance. This is Mike DiLisio signing off from the Dice Tower Midwest Annex.